What's going on, guys? It is day 2, and in the last video we went over variables and briefly touched on properties. In today's video I want to dive back into properties just for a little bit and clear up any confusion that you guys may have. Then I want to show you guys instances, kind of what they are, what they're used for, all that good stuff. And then I want to dive into functions, and we'll run through some examples, and I'll just show you guys when to use them, what they look like, how they're used, all that, everything you need to know about functions. But before we get into the video, I just want to say something. If you guys are confused at any point in this series, go back and rewatch a video and do it as many times as you need until you understand the content. And if you still do not understand, join my Discord server, ask me a question, and I'll get back to you. I'm active all the time on there. And there's nothing wrong with going back and rewatching a video or asking questions. It does not mean you're stupid. It does not mean you don't know how to code or aren't able to code. People learn at different speeds and at different ways. So please ask questions, and taking notes might help. If you grab a notebook, just the act of having a notebook in front of you and a pencil in your hand, it helps, it helps the brain kind of focus on what you're learning or watching, paying attention to, because you're subconsciously listening for things to write down. So give it a try, and it really might help you just kind of focus, understand things better. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with asking for help, nothing wrong with rewatching videos. If you guys have any questions, ask in the comments, join my Discord server and communicate with me directly, all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, we are here in studio, and we are working on functions, our first little introduction to functions, and we're going to touch back on properties just slightly, and I want to tell you guys about instances and that sort of stuff. But starting off with instances, what is an instance? Instance is a data type that holds constructors for instance objects. What is that? Well, instance right here, this is a data type, and this .new part here is a constructor, and a constructor is essentially what comes next after an instance and a new instance or an existing one. So here we have a .new, which is a new instance. We're creating something new, or there are many existing constructors, but we will not be touching on those in this video, at least. We're just working on the .new. But what is actually happening here? Well, we have our variable part, and that is equal to instance.new part. And here inside these brackets, or not brackets, parentheses, inside these double quotes, we have what we are creating. And if we just type a random letter in here, like a P, there's a ton of stuff we can create. But for the example, we're going to be creating a part, and then taking these by the way are comments. This is a multi-line comment, and it is the double dash followed by 2 square brackets either side, or as you see here, this is just a single line quote or single line comment, and it's just the 2 dashes. But taking these out of double quotes here, taking these out of a comment, we see our properties. So what this does, if we were to run the game right now, we would have a new part created. And we could obviously, like we talked about in the last videos, we can change the properties of that part. And that's what you see here. We have part.size equals vector3.new. This is new to us, at least we didn't cover this. This is size. So this obviously is a data type. Most data types are this light blue. That's obviously not always the case. Like workspace here is not a data type. But again, we have a data type, we have an instance vector3, and then we see the .new constructor. So we are creating a new vector3. What is a vector3? It's a size property. It's your x, y, and z, and these numbers here are studs. So we create a new vector3, a new size, and then in these parentheses, we create our size, which is 10 studs by 10 studs by 10 studs. And then we have brick color, so we could change the brick color. And again, this is a instance, and we are creating a new instance, a new brick color. And we have brick color dot new, and then a string, really red, which is just one of the many colors. As you can see, if I remove this, there are a ton of colors we could choose, but I chose really red. Then we have part.parent, and I don't think I touched on parent last video, but what parent is basically, how do I explain this? Where the object or instance is attached to. And in the properties menu, if you don't have these open, you can open them by going to View, Explorer, and Properties. Very useful, always have those open. But if we click on, say, the part that I have from last video, parent is somewhere in here, right here, parent and workspace. So that's how you could check where it is. And when something is bound to the workspace, it's up here, and you could see it in the actual workspace, and you just reference that by whatever dot parent equals and then what you want it to be parent to, and in this case it is the workspace. So I hope that kind of clears up any confusion on properties, and hopefully you understand instances, at least to the extent that I explained them. They're pretty simple. We'll get into them further. A lot of this stuff, I'm just, it's the building blocks of what's to come. So we will save the more complex topics for a later date. I just want to kind of get you the basics of everything important, and then we will build off that, kind of that building block style that you hear everywhere. But let's get into functions. So there are many types of functions, but I'm only going to go over the simple ones in this video. So we have, in this case, we have a function without parameters, and parameters are stored inside of these parentheses, and parameters are just variables that are used within the function scope only. And what is the function scope? Anything from after these parentheses and before this end, and they are just variables exclusive to that function. But going over this function here, we have local function, which is our function keyword. It's the first time seeing that. And then this is our function name, add two numbers. And as you can see here, it is in camel case, because if you remember the last video, we name things based on what they are. So naming things properly, it will be in camel case. And then I just have some basic code in here for the example. Local sum equals 2 plus 2. So what that does is it just 2 plus 2, simple addition. And when we call this function, this will be executed, and Lua-U, this code, this function will calculate 2 plus 2. And then here we have a print statement, and it will be printed. So print statements, you can do many things. You can just have strings, and you could print just words, or in this case you could put a variable name in it and it will print the variable, or what the variable is equal to. So in this case, when I print sum, it's going to print the result of 2 plus 2. And then obviously the end keyword is how you mark where the function ends. So anything below this end here is not included inside the function. And then this is how you call a function. There are functions that you don't need to call, but they're a bit more advanced. So not in this video, pretty soon, because I don't want to withhold those from you guys. They are pretty useful, but I just want to go over the basics. You have to call this function right here, and this is all you do is you just type the function name, put the parentheses, and then there you go, it's called. So if we were to run the game here, open up the view, another thing, open up your output. This is important. This is where you see your errors, messages, anything that gets printed in the output or whatever. But as you can see here, we have sum equals 5, so which is very helpful. So our next thing is we have functions with parameters. So similar to the last one, we still have to call and everything, but now we have those parameters I spoke of. And like I said, these are just variables exclusive to the function. And you could have multiple by just separating them with a comma. So we have num1, num2, just short for number. And again, we are doing simple addition. We have local sum equals num1 plus num2. And then I print sum. And then the function ends, but there's no value. Num1 and num2 have not been defined yet. So how does the function know what they're adding? Well, when we call the function inside the parentheses, we want to add our values. So num1, num2 in that order. So we have our number 1, number 2 separated by a comma. So all of these values right here, when we run the game and call the function, will get plugged in. So right here, 1, 2, or in the second addition problem, 2, 3, 3, and 4. And then when we run the game, we already were in a game, you could see all the addition has been done. 5, 7, 5, just, all the addition. So that is functions with parameters. And then there's another keyword, the return keyword. And it's pretty helpful, and it's good that you guys will be able to understand this because it is important, it is helpful. So we have a function with a return, or not with a return, excuse me. I'm a bit tired. I've been staying up extremely late the last few days. So I'm not fully with us right now, though it is only 9:22, so I'll try to pull it together. So we have local function, add and subtract, num1 and num2. We have our parameters, our variables exclusive to the function, and inside of our function we have local sum equals 1 plus 2, like we had up here. And then we have local difference equals num1 minus num2. And then we have return, sum, and difference. What this return does, after all this is done, it will return the value of sum and difference. And what is the value of sum and difference? Whatever the result of this computation is. And again, it's the same thing. When we call the function, that is when we will give num1 and num2 values. So over here in our return statement, we have local sum comma difference, right? Our two variables here separated by the comma. Sum difference equals add and subtract, where we call our function, and then the value 2 and 3. So 2 is num1 and 3 is num2. And then we can print it. We do print sum comma sum, the variable. This is a string. This is what will be printed as just, English. And then sum, we'll just print the sum of 1 plus, or 2 plus 3. And then that is obviously 5. We can do basic addition. Then we have print and difference, comma, difference. So the difference is 1. But I think that's about it. I know this video is kind of sloppy, but I haven't posted in a while, so I just wanted to get this made and out here. Luckily, these aren't super complex topics, but I feel like I might be leaving stuff out. If I am, and you guys are confused, like always, go in the comments, the Discord, whatnot, ask me questions, and I will get back to you. But like I said, I'm just trying to get this video out, but I'm planning on making a bunch of videos tomorrow. And I think after tomorrow, or maybe starting tomorrow, which is Sunday, we should have daily uploads, and tomorrow I'll have the energy back, and I'll be with us. I'm probably going to go to bed after I schedule this upload for tomorrow morning. But tomorrow we are going to do operators, which is really important, and I think after you guys get down this video and last video, we will really start to put things together. And I think after tomorrow's video, you guys will finally be able to look back and see some improvement. I think that's going to be the first big step up where you guys are like, wow. But we'll have to see. And then I'm probably going to make a video on the more advanced functions. Like I said, I don't want to withhold those from you guys because they're important. And once you, after these 3 videos, including tomorrow's the 3rd, I think you guys will be able to make some really good progress and actually start writing code, which will be cool to see. So I think that's it though. So if it's morning, afternoon, night, have a good whatever, and I will see you guys tomorrow.